Before we start, yeah, we're pressing record now because we've had a couple of people who couldn't attend that really wanted to see what we had to say. So if you don't want to be included on the recording, you can turn your cameras off. But I would very much prefer everyone to keep their cameras on because it's pretty grim talking to a room of black squares. So having said that, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to you all. I can see quite a lot of familiar faces. I can see some new faces as well. I know we've got people from right across the spectrum of our stakeholders, and colleagues, supporters, partners, funders, suppliers, residents and former residents. You are all exceptionally welcome, and we really appreciate you taking the time to join us today. So for the next hour, we're going to share some slides. I think my colleague Sam is in charge. There you go. Hopefully you can see that. The form for the next hour is rather a lot of me speaking, I'm afraid. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Amanda Du Barry. I'm Chief Executive for Caritas Anchor House. I'll be covering the majority of the background and information today before handing over to John Lowry, our Director of Frontline Services, and Mick Norman, a resident of Caritas Anchor House. We'll then have some time, I hope, to take questions from you, and you're very welcome to put any questions into the chat whilst we're speaking, and we'll pick those up at the end, or you can just wait and we'll ask questions at the end. Okay, next slide. I don't know how well you can see that from a distance. I'll come back to it in a minute, but October is a really significant month for us. At the start of this week, you might have seen it was World Homeless Day. It's a vitally important day for us in terms of reflection about homelessness. Shockingly, 1 in 22 people in Newham are experiencing homelessness right now. And we make no bones about the fact that we're furious about that, because no one should ever have to experience homelessness. October is rather incredibly our 60th anniversary. And I want you to pay some close attention to this photo. You might notice that virtually everyone, all the women, I think, and most of the men in this picture are wearing hats. You might also recognise in the top right-hand corner a rather familiar building, which is the Anchor House building. So this photo, I think, dates back to about 1962, which is when we first opened our doors. And I just wanted to show you this, really, to show you, I guess, how long we've been around, how important October is for us, but also to reflect how times have changed. You know, Canning Town and Newham are completely different. That market barely exists now. We certainly don't go around wearing hats everywhere. And the context across the country and indeed the world is completely different. But our compassion at Caritas Anchor House remains the same. Okay, I think we have covered. We are more needed than ever. Sorry, having some problems with slides being in a different order to the, the order I was expecting. Let me cover. I don't even know which slide number this is. Thank you, Sam. Bear with. All right. When I joined Anchor House, which was 2018, I saw a lot of potential for us to help even more than we were, particularly in the area of rough sleeping, actually. Back then, we just had the one site at Anchor House focusing on single people experiencing homelessness. And since then, we've grown to 6 sites, and we've added a new service at Anchor House as well, our award-winning Hope Street development, which we're very proud of. And all of these new services have been supporting people coming out of rough sleeping in Newham. We've also focused heavily on developing our work with a range of wraparound services to support people out of homelessness, and with a big drive around improving facilities and our environment to ensure that our residents are able to cook and look after themselves, learn life skills, ensure that they're proud of their home, and that fundamentally they have a safe and healing place to live whilst they're dealing with the trauma of experiencing homelessness and the challenges that led them into homelessness. So I'm really proud of where the organisation is right now and what's been achieved in those years, but there's still a great more to do. Let's see what order the slides are in now. The anticipation is, okay. Right, I'm rearranging my order quickly. Okay, so homelessness, as we all know, I think, is getting worse. I know that's really grim reading. It's important to recognise these facts in the same week as World Homeless Day. Unfortunately, the great successes of the efforts across the country to get everyone in during the pandemic, despite that, we're now seeing increases on the streets again. Homelessness cases rising steadily too, and some predictions around future increases in homelessness as the cost of living crisis bites this winter. So homelessness is often hidden from sight. It's often interconnected to many other issues. There's no simple fix, and housing alone is not the answer. For many people experiencing homelessness, they report not being able to access support without experiencing stigma and judgment. And of course, many people don't or won't ask for or accept help when it's offered. So there's much to do, and we've been asking ourselves if our identity is bold enough and strong enough and sufficiently in line with our planned direction in the here and now, in 2022, not 1962, to help us to rise to these challenges. So, we started looking at our identity back in 2019, asking people what Caritas Anchor House meant to them and what they connect us with. We've been completely guided by your voices, the voice of our residents, our team members, our supporters, our partners, and all of our other stakeholders. And I'm sure that there'll be people in the Zoom room now who we've consulted with about our identity. So we've listened to you, and next week you'll see your feedback properly come to life and breathe new energy into our charity as we launch our new name. Next slide, please, at the risk of sounding like Boris Johnson. Our new name and our refreshed purpose supports, focuses growing, sorry, I'll start that again. Supports our growing focus on the person. Change highlights our solution, a model of support tailored to each person, a proven pathway out of homelessness and its destructive cycle. Each journey is shaped and led by the individual. So our focus is on the person, understanding their needs, supporting their journey to independent living, and giving them a place to belong and personalised services to wrap around them. Okay. Now is the big moment. I've talked a lot, haven't I? But I can now proudly reveal our new logo. Sam. Ta-da. Next week, we will officially launch Your Place. And we encapsulate what we do at Your Place with the tagline, solving homelessness one person at a time. We've used two typefaces that were chosen to convey feelings of individuality, expressiveness, calm and warmth. Our branded font uses bold and soft shapes and small unpolished quirks which convey an idea of malleable space to grow, where individuality is celebrated and where it's okay to fail. We're using a vibrant colour palette now, as you can see. Our primary colours, and these are very designery names, are warm coral and brave purple. Warm coral to connect with feelings of acceptance, positivity and individuality. It feels welcoming, empowering and encourages human interaction and emotional release. The brave purple represents spirituality and creativity, but also structure and order. The handwritten typeface Your is confidently underlined to give residents a sense of ownership and new strength. And this is supported by the solid yet softer colour Place, which gives residents a sense of security. Our strapline, solving homelessness at one person at a time, is designed to be simple, achievable and person-centric. The houses and the skyline at the bottom were inspired by our development Hope Street. They represent our personalised approach to each individual resident. But there's also a sense of being part of a community and the progression from here to your own bright future. The water, the waves, represent our seafaring heritage at Anchor House, and the trees and plants represent the healing place to grow. Not only that, but this narrative, sorry, next slide, Sam. Thank you. This narrative will help us to improve the culture for our residents, help them feel that they belong. The name Your Place shows each person we support that we believe in them and we're really there for them. We're here with the tools to support in a way that enables people to rebuild and reconnect and to prepare for the road ahead. Next slide, Sam. Thank you. The new identity helps us to tell a clearer story, helping us to unite our community and helping us to stand out and to own what we're doing. We want to stand proud in our community so the people we support also feel proud to be here and to be more visible to those who need us and those who want to be part of that solution. Thank you. So we've changed our identity. But if you take away anything from this session today, I really want you to take away that our mission remains exactly the same. We'll continue to drive to provide more specialist supported housing, offer more services centred on the person, support more specific needs and more people who are vulnerable, and to be a trusted leading voice in solving homelessness. So you've heard rather a lot from me this afternoon. I'm going to end my stint for now until we get to the questions later by sharing a video which we've created, which we hope encapsulates what our new identity and our work to solve homelessness will look like. We're just doing some technical handovers between Sam and Jennifer in the background so that we can share the sound properly on the video. So bear with.
You never know, someone, like, you can be in this place tomorrow. So it's just important not to judge people.
I work with NHS in a mental health hospital. My job is to assist patients with different mental health challenges. I was unwell, which affected my job. It affected seriously to the extent I couldn't support myself. The consultant called me and said, "It's multiple fibroid tumors," and they told me I have to quarantine for 10 days before the operation. Aqua House came at the perfect time. If beyond that time, the operation will be cancelled. I felt so loved, so welcome.
Back in 2006, moved out from my family house. At that time, I was working for Dickinson Jones. They let quite a few people go, and then I couldn't afford my rent at that time. When I went to the local authority, they couldn't really help me much. You had to be a certain age in order for the local authority to pay your full rent. I didn't meet the criteria. You know, I ended up staying at my friends. I used to go to the park and just have my moments there. There's no one there, you're on your own. Your emotions all over the place, you know? It wasn't a great feeling. I was self-in, and I've done that few weeks, and that's when I get called from Anchor House.
I came back from uni. So when I came to London, I was staying at my family home. I needed to leave. I ended up getting in touch with Newham, and they told me about this place. So I decided to stay here. Having my own space, it definitely helped me emotionally and also mentally as well. Not only is the rent cheaper, there's also people who help you with housing and job opportunities as well.
Anchor House sent me to a housing apprenticeship in Camden, and that's where I got my housing qualification. Once upon a time, when I was under 25, I was homeless, and being homeless and working in Anchor House, it made me who I am today. So I'm just trying to give something back to myself and to the system.
Now I have my own place that I can feel comfortable in, but I will be more complete when I get back to my work. My sister had a baby boy. I'm looking forward to see them, and now she can come.
So I would love to have my own bakery, maybe here in London. Like, it'll be a Christian bakery, but everyone is welcome. And also have a sheltered accommodation for people. I would want it to be non-profit. I'm passionate about helping people and seeing people off the streets.
I found the help with Anchor House, which supported me till even now. Because had it not been Anchor House, I wouldn't be here.
Moving on to, I think we're now moving on to my section. I'm going to just spend a little bit of time just sort of looking at some of the changes at Anchor House as part of our brand change. And I think what struck me when Amanda talked about our principles earlier is that our space is personalised, that we're creating. It contributes to building self-belief, and I think it also has that sense of reducing stigma and creating a bolder and more confident sort of community around Anchor House and our other services. Over the next sort of slides, we'll see some before and after. And you see here, this is the sort of the pool area where we've got quite a bland sort of area on the left. The area on the left represented quite a significant change from how it was 2 or 3 years ago. We've already sort of transformed the building. We're just taking it to that next level, which you can see on the right, that more sort of personalized, more inspiring sort of space, inspiring sort of colors that we've used. The next sort of slide, please. And again, the same sort of principles around sort of our IT sort of facilities. Originally, that was in a big room. People could see what other people were doing on the IT previously. We created this dedicated space, and we've now sort of personalised it and uplifted it. Hopefully that will provide inspiration as people are applying for jobs and doing CVs and the likes. We'll do the next slide. Our library area, again, the similar sort of principle about uplifting, again, using the different colours and sort of phrases to give people sort of inspiration. I think we on to the next slide. So yeah, we talk about creating a psychologically informed environment, and that's a bit as much about how we provide space and how people live in our space and create a community. And these are good examples of just trying to give it a little bit more of a personal touch around the building. And hopefully this is all being done alongside with our residents, and hopefully that will feel and create a better sense of belonging with the organisation. And talking about our residents, we've got a resident now, Mick, who's going to share a little bit about his story and his views. So Mick, over to your capable house.
Yeah, my name's Mick. I came to Anchor House a few months ago because I've been evicted from another project locally that I've been living at for 15 months. 20-year-old housing benefit debts, rent overpayments paid when I've gone into custody and whatever over the years, accumulated over a 20-year period, and that took me to my rent being underpaid. A third of my benefits at the time during COVID, £126 a month being taken out my benefits, on top of £50 a month top up for my rent of that project. I was now obligated to pay another £58 a month. I said I can't afford to do it. It left me £80 a month to live on, and it took me back to homelessness. But for 15 months during that period, I engaged with everybody in the borough, whoever was available to engage with during COVID, and has been kept coming in and out of lockdowns. And there was nobody that could actually help me contact housing benefit to freeze my debts temporarily, to give me time to appeal these historic debts, which there was half a dozen from different boroughs. And nobody could help me do that. It was frustrating, and he took me back to getting evicted a few months back, and I ended up back sleeping behind a bingo in Stratford, and got the Buzz Bingo Club. I'd already spent the last 20 years in and around Stratford, in and out of prison, homeless, and COVID gave us they gave the borough and the outreach teams and everybody else, and you know, there was funding, and we cleared the streets, and it was great. And since that day, I've been cleaning drugs, Class A drugs. I've been volunteering at the local food bank. I'm out 3 or 4 mornings a week, riding around around, dropping off sleeping bags, coffee runs, doing homeless referrals. And I'm noticing other people are now in the same situation I was. They're being removed from properties because of historic debts. They can't manage. They don't know where to turn. And even though I knew everyone, you know, a DJ, I was there. I was one of the COVID reps to getting homeless people to go and get their COVID jabs. I know everyone in the community, all the people in and out of prisons. I know. And I was battering my head against the brick wall, and in another 5 weeks homeless, and I got referred to Anchor House. And on my second appointment here, on the second day, 2 hours spent with a key worker here, and all my debts was addressed in 2 hours. It was like a relief washed over me. I got accepted in, and I moved in the next day, and life just bounced back again because all the desperation's gone. And I found just in a couple of months being in Anchor House, what I've looked for, which was somewhere to live comfortable, safe, secure, clean, and be supported for doing well, guided, encouraged into work, employment, even though I'm doing that anyway. You know, I've been offered jobs as a local community centre caretaker, and life's moved on, but where Anchor House for me was different from all the other places that I know of where friends are, is that everything's here for us. Like whatever it is you want to do, volunteering, college, you know, if you don't, you just want to move on. You're encouraged whatever way you want. If you choose to engage with what is available in here, you know, you've got a great chance of success and maintaining that success, because I've got on my feet before, and I've been left looking at 4 walls, and you know, the electric's running out and the gas is running out, and then you know, the addiction of creeping again, and straight away you in despair, you're out shoplifting again daily. So whatever accommodation you've got, as soon as you go to prison, you've lost it. And I've spent decades in and out living around Stratford. Now and again I'd engage. And when I did, my addiction would take over. So Anchor House, I think, is very acceptable for people's previous circumstances, and so sometimes I look at things and I think, you know, Lord, I don't see the picture they see, but I feel supported here. I feel like I'm benefiting here. I've got friends that have moved on in the last few weeks into brand new accommodation in the borough. Amen to that. You know, they've got brand new properties. Nobody else has sat on that toilet. You know, nobody else has used that cook up. You know, and what a hope and encouragement that gives us. I know, you know, over the next few months I'm going to have that same opportunity, because I've not had that. We've only had the private rented, where, you know, we can't afford to pay that sort of exuberant rent if we go back to work. So we're stuck in a benefit system, twiddling our fingers 24 hours a day. You know, we've got to be encouraged to work and move on to maintain their lives, and it gives us the opportunity to do that. And I've seen people successfully, friends of mine, doing that. So, you know, COVID's been a blessing, Anchor House has been a blessing to me and many of my friends, and I'll leave it there, yeah. Is that all right, Dan?
That's absolutely brilliant, Mick. Thank you so much. I mean, I could just listen to you all day, and I'm sure everybody else could as well. And I'd love to just bottle everything that you're saying, all of your spirit and your resilience to tackle everything that life's thrown at you and all the circumstances that you'd have. I'd love to bottle that, share it with all of our other residents as well. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. And we're going to have some questions in a minute, and I'm sure we might get a couple of questions directed for you as well to answer. Can I just take the moment to also, I know we've got a number of key workers on this Zoom call. Can I just applaud the key workers who are achieving the brilliant results with people like Mick, because they're the real heart and soul of our organisation, our residents and our key workers and our team. So thank you. Right, over to questions. I don't know, Sam, if we've had any questions in the chat. I've not been watching the chat, but otherwise I will. Any questions, Sam?
No, there's been no questions, but if anyone wants to unmute themselves, go, if you're, this is your moment, or if you want to chuck something in the chat, I'll keep an eye on it.
Please do be bold and brave in line with our new branding and ask us some questions. If not, I'll ask you some questions and see who wants to answer.
I've got a question, if that's all right.
Yes, please do, Ruth.
So that means you can hear me. I was interested that you're not using the anchor anymore. I thought the anchor would be quite a good symbol for sort of holding firm and being a place that made people feel safe. But perhaps you feel it's a bit too historic, or is connected with naval things.
Yeah, it's a good question. We looked at the incorporating anchor into the name actually as well, Ruth, and it just didn't seem to work with that kind of bold, vibrant approach that we wanted to take in terms of moving forward. We're very aware that we've got a lot to do if we're going to really achieve change in our area. We've got a lot to do, and we just felt that kind of focusing on belonging and focusing on the individual people that we're working with, rather than the sort of anchor and the symbols like that, we thought that was a stronger concept. I hope others agree that that was the right move. Thanks for the question, though. Very good question. Other questions or comments? If anyone wants to comment about what they think of the new name and branding and what it means.
I was just going to add to what you were saying, Amanda, in that the Anchor House will always remain Anchor House because that's the name of the building. And so it was as much about incorporating the other sites and bringing them together, because you'll always hear people talk about Anchor House, and that will still remain part of us.
Yeah, good point. Thanks, Suzanne. Forbes?
Hi, Amanda.
Hi.
I know, being a designer, the amount of time and energy and conversations you've had, so I think you've done incredibly well to get to this particular point with still keeping your hair on. It's a big change, and I think
there's a lot of hair dye goes into this, Forbes.
So really commendable that you've and it's, I think this period that we're in, it's actually really opportune to use it as a fresh lever to really go out to your partners, sponsors, stakeholders, and just sort of to re-innovate what you are doing. I mean, you do fantastic work over there, really, really fantastic. And as you said, that chap is just so articulate in terms of his feelings and how much difference you've made. On a very practical thing, what's your kind of timeline in terms of rolling it out across sort of, I've seen images of, say, what you'll do for the reception and for the website. What's your timeline with this now?
We like to give ourselves a challenge, Forbes. So everything's launching next Tuesday.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah. So there will be some gradual implementation, for example, across the different buildings outside of Anchor House where we don't own the building. So there's a limit to how much we can heavily brand those areas. So there'll be some development over time, and to allow our budget to catch up with all the spending on branding and so on. But yeah, effectively the website and the name, everything is launching. So next Tuesday is our switchover.
Well done, really well done.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry, Amanda, I just want to correct you. It's not the next Tuesday, it's the following Tuesday on the 25th of October.
Oh, okay. Sorry,
We have a little bit more
I've got my
time.
weeks wrong. I know it's the 25th, and I'm glad you corrected me. Time's moving too fast. Yeah, not next Tuesday, the 25th. Yeah.
So Amanda, can you hear me, by the way?
Yes, we can. Thanks, Dominic.
Yeah, just to say, I really thought that was fantastic. Everyone's contribution, but also this thing about the anchor. I thought there was a definite anchor through the whole thing, this you are thing going on and stuff like that. I was very impressed. Really good, really good.
Oh, I'm glad you like it, Dominic. It's really nice actually, because obviously we've been working with it and developing it and tweaking it over the course of a little while now. So it's really nice to get people's reaction, especially if they're positive. I hope that there's not any negative ones at this stage, but it's nice to get those kind of initial soundings with people and get the sense, that it resonates and works.
Hi, Amanda. We have a question here from one of the staff team, Herbert.
Hi, Craig. Hi, Herbert. Yeah.
Hi, Amanda. Just looking at the logo, I also designed, and I can see that you're using the Pride principles in the logo, the colouring and everything like that. And also, I want to commend my place, rather than Caritas, on Oak Street as well, because even that identity of having a name like Oak Street for such a project is totally relevant. But my question specifically is, because it looks like they feel in the direction the organisation is going now is based around Pride and the principles of having a mindset when we're approaching this industry, would you agree that the mindset is a very important part of our work? Because we're using colours in the logo, in the branding, we can see there's an effect on what it creates in the individual mind. When you look at colours, you look at approaches, mindset's very important. So apart from the logo, apart from the branding, is there other things you can tell us that the company's doing in terms of following the Pride principles that we will see being implemented as well?
Yeah, great question. And for anyone on the call who doesn't know what PIE stands for, it's psychologically informed environments, which is this kind of principle of providing a home and an environment which is trauma informed and positive and safe and so on. So I'll kick off with a response on this, and John might want to kick in with some of the more service-based approaches that we're going to be making around psychologically informed principles. But yeah, Herbert, you've absolutely hit the nail on the head. That's absolutely what we're trying to do. We're trying to provide a really positive identity around our work, around our homes, and around the culture in the organisation, which is first of all, it's open and it's encouraging. It allows people to come in, feel welcomed and belong, and allows people to feel that they're working with us as partners rather than as beneficiaries in a charitable service where we're doing to them rather than enabling them to step up in the way that Nick's managed to do and explain to us so eloquently this afternoon. So there are other things that we're doing. It's been a journey. So some of the environments that Don showed to you earlier, as he said, we've put a lot of time and effort over the last few years in really turning around some of our communal spaces and making them much, much nicer, safer, cleaner, positive spaces that our residents can feel proud of. And we'll be doing some more of that as well. But Don, you perhaps want to talk about what else we're doing service-wide in terms of trauma-informed approaches.
Yeah, I think there's other aspects of psychologically informed environments, which is more than just the bricks and mortar. Some of that is about how we work with our residents and what's known as a trauma-informed approach, which enables, again, sort of understand and recognise people's histories, but then working with residents moving forward and developing sort of their ambitions. I think the other area which we've had a good track record on over the last few years has been our community partnership and community engagement work. We work very closely with a local organisation or national organisation called Citizens UK, because we've tried to approach our sort of engagement work as a community here, and we've had some really sort of interesting and dynamic sort of initiatives locally with our residents and giving them, supporting them have a voice in terms of getting more control over their lives and being able to influence what's been happening sort of around here, but also sort of locally as well. So we do see our work not just about bricks and mortar, but also about a people approach. And hopefully we'll see some more investment over the coming months and years. Or at some point we'll have our sort of reception area changed to a welcome area, and that will feel, again, create a different sense of experience here. We hope that our other services in other parts of the borough will be able to adopt some of our sort of our colouring and some of our other principles sort of in those buildings as well. So we have got ambition to work in a more psychologically informed approach.
I'm nodding away and I'm on mute there, but thanks, John. That's really helpful. Any other questions or comments from anyone? Ruth?
It's me again. I really liked, John, you were just talking about positives on. I really liked the signs, your place to cook, your place to do the washing. I thought that's really positive and proactive, but it's also giving the people a sense of ownership as well. So, and it makes it feel more like a home, because that's the sort of thing, you know, cooking and washing are things you do at home all the time. So I really, really like those. And the reception door I saw in the video.
Absolutely. I mean, I think this is about sort of encouraging and developing it's often skills that we take for granted, but over time can easily be sort of lost. And I think that's a bit where it's important to ensure that we're doing those sort of basics, as well as dealing and developing people sort of with the challenges and then developing their sort of ambitions from there.
Yeah, one of the bits of feedback we picked up from our residents when we were consulting on all of this stuff was that for new residents, sometimes coming into Anchor House was quite intimidating and confusing, and you know, they didn't know their way around. So they went to one or two places, but they didn't know if the other rooms off there were spaces that they were allowed in or not, or whether, you know, there were staff offices or whatever. So it kind of used the signage to help people to navigate their way around and feel more at home. So it is your place. It's not our place. It's not a staff-owned environment that we allow them to use. It's their place for them to occupy and use as they need. So yeah, it's interesting, but we've gone heavy on the use of your place. So it's as Suzanne said earlier, our different locations will be you know, called different things. So it'll be your place at Anchor House for our main site, or Hope Street, your place at Hope Street, or you know, whatever. So we've kind of used the language throughout our scheme of signage to help people to orient their way around. Any other questions? I think we may have come to a natural end, so this is probably a good place to wrap up. I just want to thank you all again for taking some time out. I know this is one of those meetings that's perhaps a bit of a luxury meeting. Everyone's so busy, so I'm so touched that so many people managed to take 40 minutes out of their day to come and join us and find out about our identity. I'm so glad that you're with us on our journey. I hope that when we launch from the 25th of October, it will all be seamless, and that you'll hold in your mind that when you see your place, that's now, you know, that was Caritas Anchor House. We'll try and make it as seamless as possible. Huge thank you to Sam and Jennifer, who've worked behind the scenes to put this on. A huge thank you to John, who's spoken. I think the biggest thanks of the day probably needs to go to Mick for his really powerful sharing of his story and his view. I can't tell you how much we appreciate it, Mick. It's you know, above and beyond, and it's really, really valued. Megan, you've got your hand up. Did you have a quick final comment?
I did actually, about the launch next week. Is that just
the week after? It was me that got it wrong, Megan.
Sorry, yeah, on the 25th. Sorry. Is that just for staff and residents, or is that a launch, broad launch?
So we're having an internal event, which is just internal, so that's just staff and residents. But it will be going live publicly at the same time. So we'll be kind of switching over to our new website, switching over to our new email addresses, and everything from that point onwards will be communicated to and from your place rather than Caritas Anchor House.
Okay. Wonderful.
All right.
Thanks.
Good question.
Yeah.
Good final question. Thank you so much, Megan. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And thanks for all your lovely comments, which I can see popping up in the chat as well. Much appreciated. Good. Really good to have the feedback. Thank you all. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Amanda.